Now that you've set up your fixed and staff costs, you can start to create quotes, which are essentially individual bed fees. And the first thing you should do, assuming you're not bidding for a new client straight away, is to create a library of fees, a library of quotes for your current residents. So up here you have quotes to start new quotes. You have this fast button here to create a new quote. And once you've created the quote and you save them then to residents, and we'll talk about that in the next video. So right now, if you clicked in for the first time into residents, you wouldn't see anything in there. You have to create the quotes first, essentially the fees first. And the reason for doing this with your current residents is that you'll see when I show you how to create a quote that you can actually then enter your current fee, the fee you are currently receiving. And the tool will show you how much a profit you're actually making in reality, or potentially a loss that you're making. So it's really important that the first time in, once you've set up all of your costs, you create quotes based on your current residents to see if you are receiving the fee you need. Because if you aren't, you can then set up a client review meeting. So let's start a new quote. So you're going to set up quotes for each of your residents, so we can compare what your fee should be with what fee you are currently receiving. So at the top, we just have details about the person, and his date of birth. Let's say is July 1952. 24th is fine. Room number. Information completed by me. And the date it's completed, which is today's date. And we will save that. And you see up here you have version 1. So you can create different versions of quotes and put in different information and so on. So here you have the daily care and nurse allowance for the resident as part of your staff costs. Now for a residential home with no nursing, so that'll be 0. A lot of this 3 hours 50 or whatever it comes out to be for a residential home could be taken up with non-care activities such as domestic work, kitchen work, and so on. So you would have to decide how much of this 3 hours 50 a day is taken up with those kind of tasks that aren't direct care delivery. And whatever is left might be enough to provide the care that the person needs, in which case you would say this extra care and nursing required table isn't needed, all the specialist care isn't needed, and you just save to quote. As I say, you can save as a new version if you wanted to create a separate version if you're going to go backwards and forwards to try different things, which you absolutely can do. And save and update keeps you on the same page. Let's say you're a nursing home. So you do have nurses, and in this case, it worked out for this 50-bed nursing home that you can have an hour and 12 minutes daily nursing and 3 hours 50 of care. Let's look at the nursing first. Now for a nursing home, this 1 hour 12 may actually be completely used up with non-direct care activities. So you've got care plans that need updating. Now of course for the residential, some of this time will be taken up with care plans too. So with the nursing, you've got care plans, you've got order medication, you've got to audit the medication, other quality audits you're doing. So there is a lot of work the nurses have to do that isn't direct care. So let's say this 1 hour 12 per resident a day is taken up with non-direct care activity, and this person needs medication. So we go down to this extra care table, and what you see here is some typical care tasks. And if there is a task that you need to deliver, your team needs to deliver, that doesn't really fall under these categories, then you can just simply add a row. So we add a row and add the new task. Okay, and then we'll just delete that because we don't need to do that for this example. And then up here you have on the left side your care team activities or tasks, and on the right section your nurse. So we're going to do medication. When we say medication, let's say it's 10 minutes a day. Nurse frequency, how many times? 5 times. And then you got nurse staff. So how many nurses does it take? 1 nurse. And that adds up to be 50 minutes a day, or 350 minutes a week, which is the equivalent of 5 hours 50. Now let's look at care. You've got this 3 hours 50. Now let's say an hour of that is being used up for non-direct care activities, whether it's paperwork, whether it's COVID testing, whatever it might be. But let's say the 2 hour 50 that's left, you need to identify rather what care this person needs that is part of that 2 hours 50, because you've got 2 hours 50 left of care that you need to assign tasks to. So let's say in this case a person needs personal care. So how many minutes personal care? 20 minutes twice a day and by 1 member of staff. So that's 40 minutes. And they need help with hydration and nutrition. So 30 minutes, let's say, 3 times a day, 1 member of staff. So that's 2 hours 10. Is there any other care that can be swallowed up by your staff costs as part of your break-even costs? So let's just say you've got assistance to mobilize, which is 10 minutes, 4 times a day, 1 member of staff, and there's your 2 hours 50. So you make a note that for this person, you're going to swallow up this care that this person needs into the 2 hours 50 you've allocated as part of their daily allowance. So the personal care, hydration, nutrition, hydration, assistance to mobilize, work out the times, and you see that's $250 a day or 19 hours 50 a week. If there's any extra care on top of that, that needs to be put in here as extra care. But because you've already allocated this as not extra care, we need to take these out. Now, having taken that out, is there any extra care this person needs? If not, then is there any extra specialist care this person needs? Any one-to-one care? Any 15-minute observations? So this specialist care, you have the number of day staff needed, the number of hours. So this minutes in brackets relates to this row here, personal care restriction. So there's well-being as well. 15-minute observations often gets overlooked. And you see that there's 2 here. So observation minutes, you could say 5 minutes. It takes 5 minutes to do an observation. Let's say it's a daytime. 1 member of staff covering a 12-hour shift, and that's 4 hours. I just wanted to put this in to show you that 1 member of staff doing 5 minutes observations across a 12-hour shift, for example, this could easily have been nighttime, and you put it in here as nighttime, is 4 hours. So let's say you've got 3 people needing 15-minute observations across a 12-hour period, maybe at nighttime. That's the equivalent of an entire shift for 1 carer. You know, this adds up. So we'll put that back to 0. Nursing intervention as well. And then there's medical sundries, specialist equipment, so continence pads or any type of equipment that you need for this particular person. And then other, if there's any other kind of care that you have a weekly cost to add to as opposed to an hourly cost, if you see what I mean. So no extra care needed except for the medication. All the other care is put in there, and we can save to quote. And I missed a field. And save to quote. So now what you have, version 1 of John Doe's quote is his details. I didn't put in the client type, so we'll edit that. So client type, this is a detail that you put in the home detail section. And this will become more useful when we, at a later date, it's in the pipeline, add our analysis feature. So you'll be able to see by client type the revenue you're creating, your average fee for that type of client, the average profit you're making for that type of client. So you can see from a business point of view, essentially who your best clients are. You can look at the costs of having those clients, or maybe you could get to a point where you say, we have too many one-to-one clients and we can't take any more because we're having to hire more staff and our costs are going to increase too much. So you can do this kind of analysis so that your home is as profitable as it can be. Now, one thing about profit is it's not a dirty word. You are delivering care. You're delivering a valuable service. So if you don't care about the profit, you won't be able to deliver that service because you'll go under. So you have to care about the profit so that your business remains sustainable. So added in the client type, and we'll go back to save to quote. So we have the client type, all that detail at the top. Now remember, we had fixed costs was £95.90, staff costs was £1,041.94. Out of that, care was 507, nurse was 211. So we're breaking this down just so that if you are quizzed by your commissioner, you have these kind of numbers in hand that if you need to use them, you can use them, even if it's just a case of showing that you do know your numbers. So per resident, minimum break-even point in this case is 1,137.84. And that's the same for every resident. This is your total costs were divided by all of your residents. Now in this case, no extra care was needed, but extra nursing was put in. So this medication on a daily basis, based on your average blended hourly rate for the nurses that was worked out earlier, that's £178.79. It's not trivial. We said nothing for any of the others, and we'll go back and we'll do a version 2 where extra care is needed. So adding in this, £178.79, has taken your break-even point for this individual to £1,316.63. Next, you need to decide if you want to add an impact analysis. Now, impact analysis, before all the costs went crazy over the last couple of years, was simply a cushion to cushion you against future cost rises. So we would normally, for our sister care homes, put in 2.5%. And it's your choice whether you want to put that in. We could say 2%, let's say, and it's not a vast amount. So now your total cost with impact analysis, $1,342.96. That's your break-even point. So you've not added any profit. This is your cost with this small added impact analysis. Now, a healthy profit is 30%. And that gives you a profit of £575.55 a week. And that is what a healthy business needs, because your costs increase, you have repairs to make and so on. And you want to invest in training, you want to be able to invest in events, you want to maybe be able to expand your business. There is nothing wrong with making a profit. You absolutely need to. So your fee, or this care home's fee, this nursing home's fee, is $1,918.51. Won't worry about annual uplift. To be honest, the way I look at annual uplift is if you are setting and receiving the right fees, the annual uplift is a bonus as opposed to a necessity. Now, if you want to hide your profit, you can split it between your fixed and staff costs with a percentage here. So you hide this $575.55. And if you said, I want to put 60, or let's say 60% of that into fixed and 40% to staff, that's how it splits it. And when you go and view your quote with hidden profit, you will see your fixed costs, that is currently $95.90, will be $95.90 plus $345.33. So it'll be $430 odd. Now this table is really powerful. This is where you can compare the fee you're getting with the fee that you should be getting. So this care home for this individual should be getting £1,900 odd. Now let's say this care home is currently on a fee of, well, let's say this nursing home hasn't reviewed their fees for a year, so costs were a lot lower, and there's no real extra care, and they would not have thought about putting the medication in as extra care, their commissioner would have argued with them that that's not really extra care. So let's say they're getting a fee of £1,200, £1,200. So they're making a loss of £142.96. So £1,342.96, which is their cost with the impact analysis, minus £1,200 is a loss of £142.96, which is a 12% loss. And that shows the difference between the fee being offered, the £1,200, and the fee needed, the £1,900. On an annual basis, that's a loss of nearly £7,500. But it's more than just a loss of 142. It's a loss of that vital profit. So it is, in fact, an overall loss to the business of 575.55 plus 142.96. Because you're making a loss, you're subsidizing, you're paying for this much care, and you're making zero profit. And that profit is vital. Profit is the lifeblood of a business. So overall, you're making a loss of $7,433.92 when you could be making a profit of $29,928.60. That's how powerful this table and this tool is when it comes to knowing what fee you should be on versus what fee you are on. But let's go back and let's say there is a little bit of extra care needed just to see what that difference would be in your fee and how much care actually costs. So let's say this person, we already allocated some personal care of one carer into this 3 hours 50, but let's say this person actually needs 2 people to deliver personal care. Your commissioner would argue that that's just standard care, that isn't extra care, it shouldn't be added on to your fee. But you've already allocated, and you can argue that point, that you've already identified how much care a person can have on a daily basis. So you know if it trips over that 2 hours 50, you're paying for that care. So let's say in this case, this person needs 2 carers for personal care, and you've already allocated 1 person for personal care. So let's put in another person. So it's 20 minutes, twice a day, 1 carer, because you've already added 1 carer into that 2 hours 50 daily allocation. And this then is extra care, because this person in this case needs another member of staff to deliver personal care, which is another 4 hours 40 minutes a week. And let's say this person is a falls risk. You could argue that falls risk, well, we just need to make sure one of our care staff is escorting them at the times that they're going for a walk, for example. But during that period, that becomes a one-to-one. But we can put this down as a falls risk. Let's say that 10 minutes a day, not 10 minutes a day, 10 minutes per walk. And let's say this person goes during a 24-hour period 6 times. A member of staff, that's an extra 420 minutes a week. And you can argue that point, and as we save to quote, you can see how much that actually costs. And then finally, let's say they don't need any one-to-one, but at night time, you do need to do 15-minute observations. So that takes 5 minutes to do it. 1 member of staff across a 12-hour shift, and there's your 4 hours, or 28 hours a week. And we won't worry about medical sundries like continence pads or specialist equipment or anything else. So we can save and create a new version. So now we're on version 2. And we scroll back down and see the difference that's made. So we have the same minimum break-even point, but now we've added that extra personal care. So now you can see yourself that this personal care is £61.55 a week. Falls risk is nearly £100 a week. So this extra cost that your commissioners would say, well, that's just standard, that's not extra, I'm not paying for that, is £153.88. So if you don't include that in your fee, that is what you will be paying for on a weekly basis. And now, instead of just the £178.79, extra care has gone up to £332.67. But look at this 15-minute observations. Just simply doing across a 12-hour shift, 5 minutes every 15 minutes, 15-minute observations, that is on that blended average hourly rate for carers. That is £369.32. If you don't include that, you're paying for that. So now your break-even point, this home's break-even point, is 1,839.83. I'll ignore the impact analysis for now. Let's just go straight to the profit. 30% profit is a profit of 788.50. Now you may decide that you're happy to have a profit of 500 something per resident. That works for your business. So you may decide that you can bring this down, or you keep it at 30%, but you've got a bit of wriggle room to negotiate here to bring this down. And your fee is now £2,628.33. Again, we'll ignore annual uplift. You are currently receiving that £1,200, £1,200. Now you're making a loss of £639.83. You are paying for that amount of care each week for this resident. That's a profit of minus 53%. So an annual loss of £33,271 rather than a profit of £41,000. This is the visibility and the clarity that this tool gives you of knowing what your fee should be. It is going to help you when it comes to negotiating for that fee and increase the chances of actually receiving that fee. I've had providers who have struggled to get their fee they need, and they've used this tool and gone back with all the details. So the local council have turned around and say, in one particular case, said, well, we can't argue with any of this. You've got all the numbers in front of you. We can't argue against it. And they went and paid the fee, and his fee increased by threefold. Actually, it was a little bit more than threefold. So it really is a powerful tool to help you not only set the right fee, but receive it too. Now, if you just want to see, if we say, let's hide the cost, the last thing, and then you can view the quote with hidden profit. This has increased because you've got the profits hidden in here. And that's how you create the quotes. And this is what you should do for every resident you currently have, as well as when you're bidding on new potential residents.